So, on today's podcast,
Yes.
we're going to discuss how can we call it? Let's just call it the rabbit hole of health. And why I'm calling it the rabbit hole, because it almost never ends. Once you start, it keeps just getting deeper and deeper and deeper. Maybe it should be called the ant hole. I don't know how deep the rabbit holes are, but...
Well, the rabbit hole is from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, that makes sense.
She just...
Yeah. Well, then that's spot on.
Right.
An analogy is spot on, because this whole health thing, like, it's like the whole thing is like, once you get a chicken, you start being a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, you need land, you're having goats.
Exactly. You want to live off the grid. You don't want to drink the, city water, all that stuff. But, that's kind of goes hand in hand with the whole health. Like, how deep does the rabbit hole go? And how did we even get to this point that it even has to be a rabbit hole?
Right.
Like, what happened? And it's recent.
Well, that's a different rabbit hole.
Yeah, I guess. Because I've been just looking at a lot of additives to our foods.
Yeah.
Lots of natural flavors. They're all like petroleum based. Mm-hmm. It's insane. For example, I'm going to bring up carrageenan. Carrageenan is added to a lot of dairy foods, ice cream, heavy whipping cream, and I stumbled upon the natural heavy whipping cream, like the organic with no additives, and then the carrageenan version. And I'm like, why does this one taste so different? The organic one that had no additives, or even the raw one. I tried the raw one first. And then I tried the one with the carrageenan in it, which is sold everywhere. Every supermarket has the carrageenan version, the non-organic one. And I'm like, why is this one sweet? Why did I love it in my coffee so much? And then I looked up what carrageenan was. It's pretty much straight up sugar, and it's like way sweeter than normal sugar. That's why my heavy whipping cream tasted like sugar. And what is that heavy whipping cream going to do? Spike your insulin level. So, that was just kind of like one example. But, I guess I could ask you, where did this rabbit hole start for you?
So that's a good question. So this is my second journey into the rabbit hole.
Interesting. Okay. You came out once.
So we could actually fill a whole podcast with my first life that I had.
Okay.
I started getting really interested. We should bring this up at this point. I was homeschooled. So my days were different than, say, somebody who's going to school, going to college, and all those other things. So I had a little bit more freedom to do this. Now, I don't know where the bug came from, but there's always been in my family some kind of conscious awareness about the overall topic. Your weight, your health, and
it's good,
right.
Overall.
With that being said, I started probably around 17 just ingesting books, because there was no internet back then. Books, magazines, and I had like a dual obsession. I was like very in love with the muscle men in a very not gay way.
Okay.
But I loved all of like Weeder and Flex magazine and all those things, and I was always just impressed by those guys. And I started going down that road, which is, you could say, like the bodybuilding road. But I quickly learned that bodybuilding was basically the complete opposite of health.
Interesting. Okay.
Because of steroids, because of the way they eat. Like, the way they eat is terrible. They just gorge gorge for months to bulk while they're doing
the whole bulking,
right,
and the whole slimming.
And then they cut.
Or the bulking cutting sessions.
Right. And they are just doing dangerous things with their bodies all the time. And you see those guys on stage and they look impressive, and then you go backstage and they're on the verge of having a heart attack. Their noses are bleeding.
Well, there's a lot of things about those big guys dying young.
So, right. Yeah. So I quickly learned that there was a big difference between the bodybuilding, health and fitness, kind of as a, so like there's just health, like herbs and medicines and anyways, and then there's health and fitness as a thing together, and then there's some other avenues that just go like towards fitness, so to speak. So anyways, I got really interested. I was devouring books, magazines, anything I could find that aligned with this idea that I wanted to be really, really healthy, and I wanted to live as long as possible and be as healthy as possible for as long as I could.
But okay, hold on. Let me pause there. Because I kind of sounds like just like me, about the same age, trying to be into health and fitness, trying to learn as much as I could. So yours and mine idea kind of align. But would you think a lot of people go through that same phase?
I do, and I think that people have different versions of it. So, for example, my sister and myself were very similar in this particular thing. Saturday enjoyment reading might be a new book on hydration. Okay.
Interesting.
Right.
How fascinating.
Now, her husband, who's a phenomenal athlete, does Ironman, collegiate swimmer, all these types of things. One, he can't stand these things. He's all just tell me what to do, practical application. Just tell me what to do so I can do it. I doesn't want to like research and read.
Yeah. Because I'm all about research.
Right.
I want to know why. How's this thing work?
Right. And so my sister and her husband, they're both, very athletic. They're older than I am and probably in better shape than I am, and have been being fit and healthy for a very long time now. So anyways, but Craig's approach is very different. And I think when he went through that phase that we were just describing, I think his was expressed differently. I think when his was in college, it may have been expressed a lot more like, I just want to dominate my field of competition. I want to be a better swimmer, water polo, all the things that he was doing. So his thing was like, if he was doing any like researching or maybe getting coaching or anything like that, it was, like his expression wasn't, I want to live as long as possible. His expression was, I want to dominate on the field.
See, well, that's a way different mentality than maybe ours, at least mine, because I was into computers and electronics. Like, that's more interesting. I'm not trying to dominate anything, but I still want to live a long time. I still want to be healthy.
Right.
I don't want to be having any sort of health issues, especially due to weight or inflammation or anything like that. So it's a little different, maybe the mentality that the gentleman you're talking about and maybe us, where we stood with it.
Certainly do. And I think people go through a phase like that, and it has lots of different expressions. I think, and a lot of it yields the same result. I mean, my brother-in-law is in great shape. He's gotten there on a very different road.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Right, but
he's more like, I don't know, I could say action, because he's just like, tell me what to do, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Me, I'm like, I'm going to research it, how it works, how it all goes together, how the puzzle pieces fit together, and then maybe I'm going to integrate it into my life.
Right, yeah. So that's me, my sister, that's how our approach is. But ultimately, you can have a very similar outcome no matter how, however you go about getting there, just get there. I think it's more important that you get there.
Well, okay, fine. At some point, you and I kind of just went with the system, right? Just bought products off the shelf and put it in our mouth.
Yes.
Like, okay, and then at some point, we're like, this is not good. Mm-hmm. And then we start going the rabbit hole.
Again.
Like, I don't know if there's a spark or it's just a gradual kind of consciousness that we built over time. That's why I brought up the whole Carrageenan thing, because that was just a recent thing. And just to give me another understanding how these little things affect us so much and we have no clue what they are, these additives in foods. So, I mean, I guess this is kind of the conclusion of this whole thing. Don't buy anything off the shelf in a package.
Right. Well, the interesting, because I know we kind of, this whole topic got spurred off of that text I sent you. And for me, I went a long ways on a journey down the rabbit hole. And I feel like at a certain point, nobody's perfect. I definitely had components missing, but there was a time in my late 20s and early 30s that I was getting very dialed in. Like, I had routines that worked for me. I had, a structure. I was at a very good weight. This is when I was 167.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Okay.
Right. Okay. So I had gone for a long time. I'd done a lot of things, done a lot of experimenting, and ended up in a place that was really working for me. Unfortunately, life came along, plucked me out of its nice, comfortable basket, and threw me to the wind. And I was completely unable to continue any of it, period.
Okay, hold on. Because that sounds almost like a lie. It's true to you, right? It's true in your experience. Where the lie comes from is, how is a difficult life making you obese and overweight and unhealthy?
Right.
Because you're choosing what to put in your mouth.
Right. So
Because
this
I come from the same direction.
no.
Like, life got difficult, so I got fat.
No.
What?
No.
That doesn't even make any sense.
So there was a period of time where I wasn't in control. For real, like, was not. We can cover that off camera. But
How long did that last?
a little while. So
Okay.
then there came a period of time where, you're right, I did have a choice, and I was back to being in control, and I was making a very conscious decision that part of my life, which was really, really maybe even hyper focused or overly focused on all that health and nutrition, that I was not going to continue forward with that journey. I chose to stay off the road. At this point, I could have gotten back on it. And so I sent you that text yesterday. I was like, this is one of the reasons why I really didn't want to get back on, or, this is why I didn't want to go back down the rabbit hole, because I've been there. There's no bottom. And
It's a whole world.
right. And, you start, when you start doing these things, like a lot of people find when they go in religions or any of these other things that seem like extreme, social might drop off. People that, it's kind of crazy that people won't go and do things with you because of the way you eat. Whether it's, I only eat organic salads or I only eat steak. But when people start making such rigid constructs for their life, or like going to the gym is more important than going to your best friend's birthday party. People who are super, like the bodybuilders. It's like, nope, it's leg day. And
Gotta do legs.
Yeah. And I have a competition in 3 months. And yeah, Fred, I'm not going to your birthday party. So,
what's the dangers? Okay, let's say, what's the dangers of the rabbit hole, of the health rabbit hole? Like you brought up some, it does impact you socially, because if you're going to eat a certain thing, your friends are calling you, hey, let's go get drinks and have tacos. I can't do that. Like, so I'm either going to go there and be like a party pooper, like not drink, and not eat tacos, or I'm not going to go at all.
Which is usually the latter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're usually gonna not go, because why? What are you gonna do that? And I mean, that's kind of that's a big impact, the social impact of the health rabbit hole. Absolutely. And then continue. Like, I think we got up on this topic from the clothes. We got into the clothes of well, the clothes that we wear every day and what the clothes contain,
Yeah.
or not contain, what they made
They're
of.
made, well,
Yeah,
I mean, same thing. They're
yeah,
made out of things that contain
yeah.
thing,
Contain, again, oil products.
which is, really what it is. It is made out of petroleum. It's refined and tweaked and made into
Well,
this.
it's plastics. It's
Right.
plastics. It's rubbers that made from petroleum.
Yeah.
So, and then what effect does that have on your body? I mean, we know petroleum products promote estrogen in men, and that's not that's
And just overall hormone disruption.
hormone. Okay, forget even estrogen
Right.
production. Hormone disruption.
Right.
It's like you
Men,
have
women.
everything. Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't matter. Like plastics promote hormone disruption, and we're wearing them, we're sitting them, we're touching them. I mean, that's why there's just a new study. It's like every male they tested, they found microplastics in their testicles. What? And like what I honestly, here's one thing. I don't know what effects they do. What do the microplastics do? Do they not do anything? Are they just inert sitting there? I don't think so. I mean, so I'm kind of ignorant when it comes to that. Or are they constantly disrupting? They're like a static object in you now, constantly disrupting your hormones.
Well, I think that's why they call a lot of those things that we're actually getting, forever chemicals. They don't break down. You can eventually lower yourself. I really would like a sponsor to this video, but no, I really like the founders of the Nads underwear. Their talk, I thought, was one of the most real and down to earth talks about people need to contribute, one, just their part to the world, and two, realistic expectations. And they're saying, I don't think you're ever going to be completely devoid of talks like plastics. Specifically, we're on this topic, our microphone cables have plastic. Our phone cases have plastic.
Sure. And we touch it every day.
Right. The receipt papers, that's scary.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. And that's like the most toxic paper you could
Right.
touch.
So I think the idea is that the body can function well and maybe even ideal, but we'll say well, with a minimal amount. There's like,
Sure.
and
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you cross over that, things start really getting, out of whack.
And the big C comes into play.
And all kinds of other things, like we talked about hormone disruption. It's like, diabetes. How much of this diabetic stuff that we're having?
That's true. Yeah.
How much of it has to do with too much sugar or carbohydrates, and how much of it has to do with the fact that your body's just like confused with all these weird foreign bodies running around. Is it 80% the sugar and carbs and 10%, 20% added because of the other? And then at what level can you have and maintain? You can have a little bit of sugar and not be diabetic. You can have some plastic and not have your hormones completely destroyed.
Yeah, but if you're eating the everyday foods that are sold at the supermarket, there's no way. That is overdose on these chemicals, right? So, like, fine, you're eating clean. Let's say, I'm not going to put vegetables as eating clean. Because, again, vegetables lack a lot of minerals, especially on the dirt that it's grown in. They have no minerals. They're brought in, maybe. Anyways, I stumbled upon a very good book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Fantastic. I just finished the seminar and I started the book, right? I'm looking forward to it. And his big thing was how vegetables that are grown in dirt, they don't have any minerals to feed off. Like they're bringing fertilizer, but those minerals are gone a long time ago.
Right.
So now all these people thinking all these minerals are from these vegetables. No. Anyways, so imagine you're eating clean. You're just eating beef, right? Delicious beef. And once in a while, you'll eat Doritos once a month. No problem. Nothing. Fine, right? But now, do people do that? No, nobody does that. If they're eating, if you're a Dorito eater, you're a Dorito eater, right? And
You're going to Costco
with,
and
yeah, with what is that drink? The Mountain Dew. And you're yeah, exactly. Doritos and Mountain Dew. That's straight up drugs. And then you get the Doritos label ingredients, and you just go down that rabbit hole of ingredients. Every little ingredient and how it's either toxic or it's made out of some weird, I don't know. Anyways, just follow the ingredients and do research in every little ingredient. That's why I keep bringing up the stupid carrageenan thing, because it shocked me so much. I thought it was just like just a side ingredient or something.
This makes it better texture. That's
Exactly,
all.
yeah. That's all. No. And then the European Health Organization, something had a big old cancer warning for it. So, and then again, go to the Doritos, look at the ingredients. And that's just, Doritos not, the worst thing. Just, the hot nachos, the spice. I love those. They're straight up addictive. I haven't had them in years, but I just remember how much I loved them, how much they hurt my mouth, and how I could not stop eating them.
Oh, and all of these things are like that. It's like getting to the point now where it's not even about reading the labels as like what's in it. I think there might be a few things out there that you could get away with. Canned tuna, tuna and water.
Well, like you said, you eat clean, and then once in a while, no problem.
Yeah.
Fine.
But I think that's the danger of the rabbit hole. That's kind of where we were. Well, anyways, that's the danger of the rabbit hole is once you start on sort of a path, you're not, I can't, like right now where I'm at, we're not even that far into the rabbit hole, really. And it's like, I can't put that back into me now that my diet's so clean right now. It's the cleanest it's been in so long.
But you're happy, right?
It feels
not happy. Forget about being happy. You're satisfied.
But I feel good.
Yeah,
that's the one. And some variation or another of this saying is nothing tastes as good as feeling good feels.
Right. Exactly.
And that is when you start to feel good. And I don't mean like some sort of pleasure like a drug, right? But when you on a day-to-day basis, actually feel good, and then you like, well, I could have a Diet Shasta Cola and a bag of chips, and it's like, and immediately not feel good for probably a while now, especially that you're older. Meaning, that I'm.
Well, you say feel good. What does that even mean? Our natural state of being healthy is feel good?
Yes.
Like, isn't that wild?
Yeah, no, it should
like
feel.
You have to say it feels good because you felt bad so long. Going back to like your natural state of normal, now you call it feeling good.
Well, call it whatever you want. It does feel pretty good.
No, I totally agree. Absolutely. And like, again, back to the unhealthy chips, whatever unhealthy chips. It feels pretty good eating them, right?
It tastes good.
Well, I would say it also feels good. Like it gives you the cozy feeling. And maybe the taste starts off with taste, but when they end and 30 minutes goes by, now you're starting to feel really crappy.
Right.
No, and now you have to get something else going.
No, and like I've told you before, the worst one for me was always either pizza or pasta the morning after. It was literally a hangover. Literally a food hangover. Just
fascinating.
But I think while we're on this topic and we're talking to everybody in the whole planet.
Yes, all of our audiences.
There are some things that I do recommend. And I'm actually starting to do this more. So once upon a time, I might have run to the mountaintop and told everybody about my new underwear, right? And I might share it with you because we're kind of in alignment with what we're doing. But I've kind of made a choice to not really advertise much of this anymore.
So you're like saying you're knowledge or your lifestyle that you
No,
switch to?
no,
You're
no.
keeping
Like
to yourself?
I'm happy to share my knowledge
Okay.
with people, whoever wants to ask, or if it comes up in conversation. But I'm not running around preaching. This is the best way I could.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
not
okay. You're
preaching.
not going door to door. Hey, have you heard
And-
my Lord Savior carnivore diet?
And I think one of the pitfalls of going down the rabbit hole that a lot of people get into is they start to become preachy, maybe judgy, telling other people what to do.
Oh,
or
don't eat that. Yeah,
Right.
that's a very good point. I'm a culprit. I do that all the time.
Right. And so maybe giving some people some advice, it's like maybe do the thing in secret, whatever it is, and have the results in public. Because I don't even know if I've shared this with you, but I was at my second job last weekend,
Okay.
and one of my coworkers hadn't seen me in maybe like a month. So
Not very long. Yeah, yeah.
But anyways, when they came up and we started talking, it was like, oh my, wow, what are you doing?
Interesting.
And because she asked, I shared. And the reaction was immediately, oh, I could never do that. I just could never do that. And so, but that's fine.
I get that all the time.
Right. But this is why if you're somebody who's maybe going down the health and fitness rabbit hole, whatever your path is, don't cast your pearls before swine. Don't run up to the mountaintop and shout as loud as you can what you're doing in your latest book that you read, the latest underwear you just bought, the latest diet that you're trying. Just do it. Have great results.
That is wonderful advice.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that's
That's one thing, I guess, to pull from the rabbit hole.
well, it's
It's
certainly,
your own journey, your own personal journey, you could say.
right, because this isn't my first time down the rabbit hole, and definitely don't be hypocritical. I think, people who, like, I have friends, they're very fit looking, very, like, they're, well, people I've shown you on
Yeah.
pictures, and then, they preach a lifestyle, and then you see them at the bar. It's like, it's amazing that you can keep both sides of that coin flip,
Well, I think there's also another thing I think you taught me this, or you gave me this idea, I should say, where somebody their body or their skill set, their mind works a certain way, and then they use that skill to apply it to something. Let's say I have a very technical mind, so I got into IT. I use it. They maybe just have a natural fit body, and if they work just a little bit, they look fantastic. So it doesn't take much for them. They're not struggling like you and I are.
Right.
So they're gonna use that to their advantage. They're gonna use, hey, just do what I do. You're gonna look like me, right? So I can't blame, right? They're using their skill set or
Their gifts.
Their gifts, thank you, to their advantage. So more power to them
Yeah.
as they're drinking that beer.
Right? Like, so, how far down the rabbit hole are you now?
I almost feel like I hit the bottom, but then every time like I learn something, there's another vein that spurts out that way and it keeps going, right?
Right.
It's like the cave that like has many pathways, and like I'm still upset with the whole carrageenan thing. Like I didn't know. I just like, and the whole, it's all natural additive or natural flavoring also is like stuff like that, where it's just some little ingredient, but it's so potent. And you want to stay away from
less
it.
than 2% of.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was 0.5 in the heavy whipping cream, 0.5, and you could taste it. It's like a spoon of sugar filled in a cup.
Yeah, they're adding stuff. If there was no effect, they wouldn't add it.
Exactly.
Right. That's kind of the whole thing. And I think we're at a point where there's so much, because I feel like one of the downsides to all the technologies. They've been able to develop all these things, and maybe, one or two of them are amazing. But we have figured out how to preserve food longer, make the food taste unnaturally good.
Absolutely.
And,
Science.
right. And they have just engineered this stuff to the point where, yeah, if it was just your carrageenan or, some high fructose corn syrup
Yep.
or, okay. But everything's like 5, 10, 15 different things in it. And
Well, okay, even the chip bag. Like, you have the Doritos or the Cheetos. It's a whole paragraph of ingredients, okay? But then again, you have things that have like 4 or 3 ingredients. My heavy whipping cream only had 2. It had cream and carrageenan in it. And the carrageenan is so bad it doesn't matter what else it is. There's other stuff that has, very like 3 ingredients, and they're pretty good. There's chips in Costco that have like 4 or 3 ingredients that
some have 3.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's not bad, but again, I don't know. Just like I didn't know about this carrageenan. You say, hey, how far am I in this rabbit hole? I thought I was, thought I was in the middle, and I'm looking around. I could see this whole center, but then like the book I told you, Doctors Don't Lie. Now that's another huge pathway rabbit holes where he talks about mineral deficiency and how plants don't absorb the minerals because there is no minerals to absorb. So, and how the lack of minerals in people's cause all sorts of issues, mental issues, their bodies and everything else. Like now I'm just learning about that.
Right.
So that's another huge rabbit hole. So I think you kind of even said earlier, the rabbit hole never ends.
So what are you finding, as a good balance? What would you recommend as far as, because I believe in learning forever.
Yes,
Right.
that's where I'm at exactly.
Right.
So there's no balance to that because it never stops.
But there's a balance, it's like, being able to continue to learn for the rest of our lives
Okay.
with also being able to function in life. How are you juggling that?
That's an excellent question. I think, well, I don't think that's what I'm trying to do, right? This is everything we learn and break it all down to simplicity. Make it as simple as possible. Instead of a million ingredients, you want to go with 1. Beef and salt. So I think simplicity, just like working out, you have so many muscles in your arm. You're going, okay, to hit this muscle, you put your pinky this direction and you flip it around your head, right? And you hit that muscle just perfect. And you do that 10 times, right? No, I'm just going to do, 1 or 3 workouts that day that, cover the majority of the body.
Right.
So simplicity, I think, is the way to go.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I stand with that whole rabbit hole. I mean, again, but you have to know this stuff because I'm at this point where like I know enough. Starting this rabbit hole, why do we even go down this rabbit hole? Because we're missing something, right? We're like, hey, this is not right. Something is missing.
I'll let you drag me in. That's
No, I don't think so. I think you got that rabbit hole.
No, I it's like peripherally, I'm always aware of it, and I'm like constantly looking. I mean, I'm in the rabbit hole now. So but before, like, you're literally not that long ago, I was peripheral, kind of like looking in to see as much as I could find without actually stepping in.
You're like kind of grabbing that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's a study. A new supplement. Oh, okay.
And then you're like, hey, what are you doing now? Yik.
No, I did make a choice. Like I said, I made a choice for a long time to not. And
Really?
right, I did. I know
Like
I
a
did.
conscious choice?
That's what. We'll go back to what I was saying.
Okay.
So, for a long time, I went down the rabbit hole, like swan dive down that bad boy. Okay. And then I got like violently pulled out of the rabbit hole by no choice of my own.
Sure.
Okay. And then the dust settled. I got myself back up, pulled my bootstraps up, and I was in a position where I could go back in and do all of that or not. And I chose to not. And I chose to do that for a very, very long time. And it doesn't mean I didn't do anything, but I would go to fast food if I wanted to. If I wanted to cook a healthy meal, I would cook a healthy meal. If I wanted to exercise, I would exercise. If I didn't want to exercise, I wouldn't. It was not, like, because I feel like one of the problems with the rabbit hole is it has a tendency to take on a life of its own. It has a tendency.
It's like a cult almost.
It could be like a cult, but it becomes almost like a force. Like like I don't want it to become an addiction that I can't quit.
Very good point.
You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be able to get good benefits out of it. But I find myself at night. It's like before, I don't know what I was looking on TikTok and YouTube before, but the past couple of months, it's just been diets and
exercise and health.
Yeah. And
nutrition. Okay. You bring up a very good point because now you're making me think like maybe I should close this book, this rabbit hole, just kind of, put a lid on it and just live my life, do what I want to do because I know enough. Because at some point, look at it this way. I'm going to say, eat healthy. What does that mean? Okay, because I say eat healthy to somebody that lives in a jungle all their life. They're going to say, what? The food's food. What do you mean eat healthy? What is that? But to you and me, eat healthy has its own little image. Right. Because that image got applied to us over the years, right? We got it from here and here and here. So eat healthy meant eat your vegetables, right?
Right. It has, and it's,
so we had to go down this rabbit hole. There's no choice not to, because we've been force-fed a certain idea, a certain thought that was wrong all of our lives. So, okay, now we know. Now we know much better. Are we going to stop, or is it because why do we keep going down this rabbit hole? Because it is by choice. Absolutely. This rabbit hole is by choice because we learned something. We're like, we've been lied to. What else have we been lied to about? So we're just, swimming in this rabbit hole, trying to learn more. But I think I like an idea. Maybe after this book, I'm going to read some science fiction or something.
Well, I think that's, where the balancing comes in, because you want to be able to go outside. Right. Because the reality is between, we start talking about cloud seeding. And I think it's great that everybody, including us, we're making our videos available, talking about subjects that, maybe people don't know about, or maybe they get a different perspective on. But, it's like we talk about the clothes we wear, the air we breathe, the water we drink, and all these things. And it's like, I don't want to get to the point where I can't even have a glass of water because I'm scared.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to just keep drinking fluoridated tap water.
Or plastic water.
Well, again.
Once in a while, it's fine. Our bodies could handle it.
And I think we're kind of moving in the right direction. I don't drink bottled water every day. I have my stainless steel water bottle.
Rarely.
Right. But it's convenient to have a nice little water bottle while we sit here.
Absolutely.
So, the rabbit hole of health has no end. And I don't really think that you should, seek to put a lid on it. I don't necessarily know that I did myself any service, not, for years, avoiding it. But I think, kind of like what I said about how you conduct yourself while you're in the rabbit hole might make the journey a lot more pleasant, because you can you can save a lot of rejection. you can save a lot of kind of like what we were just talking about. You could save a lot of doom scrolling. It doesn't matter what you're doom scrolling for. You need to stop. And I'm talking to myself right now. You need to stop doom scrolling at 11 o'clock at night. You need to go to bed. It doesn't matter, and I think we can almost trick ourselves to be thinking that we're doing something good for us. It's like, I could just as easily listen to a podcast while I'm driving to work and get the information during the hour I have in my commute and get an extra hour of sleep at night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
So, okay, not only the rabbit hole of health is giving us all these social, how can I say it, pressures or issues, it's also wasting a lot of our time. Like more time than it should. Because the doom scrolling comes from that. It's a rabbit hole of I want to know more about what I'm not knowing. Because 90% of the stuff we've already went through, or 99%, and once in a while that 1% nugget drops into it.
Right.
So the rabbit hole of doom scrolling, that's another big issue. I have the same thing.
It's just like I said, even when there wasn't any doom scrolling, I got lost in these things. I could read books for hours and hours.
Well, where's that come from? Where's this rabbit hole of health wanting to dive in come from? Again, I think it comes from us being taught a certain way, and then we picked up the little nugget of info that, hey, that is not true. Now we're like, what else is not true?
And what really is true.
Yeah, exactly. It's all over the place. You don't even know what's true anymore sometimes when you're like so deep in this rabbit hole. You're just kind of floating upside down.
And it's hard when somebody like does literally no conscious effort into what they eat, and they on the outside appear to be okay, or especially thin. That one drives me nuts. Like,
well, there's probably more to it. I don't know what kind of drugs they're on. What
genetics.
Genetics. What if they throw up their food after they eat it. I don't know.
I know, right? Is that the only thing you eat in 4 days? Is just the one?
Or maybe exactly. Maybe they've been fasting for 4 days, and then with you, they're going berserk on their food. So there's a lot we don't know. I think what you said earlier is kind of do your thing, not in secret, but just keep it to yourself almost. Just you don't need to preach it.
No, yeah, do your stuff in private, not in secret.
Yeah,
like
not
I
in
said,
secret and private.
And let your results be public.
Yep. So I think that concludes the rabbit hole. The rabbit hole never gets concluded.
Right.
I think we're gonna put a lid on it this time.
All right. Sounds good.